So my video covering the Pontiac Robotics Archive channel has gotten a lot of love from you guys. I've received many comments, many direct messages from you guys asking me to do a continuation of coverage for the series. So that is what I have the privilege of doing today. Really quickly, I just want to cover how I plan to sort of go about this video. So the initial upload covered tapes 1 through 11. And just for reference, there's currently 20 of them. So the first episode covers 1 through 11. That would mean that this would cover 12 through 20. However, it's a really long series and it has a lot of content in it. And I just want everyone to be caught up to speed. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take the coverage that I did for episodes 1 through 11, put that at the beginning of the video, and then halfway through or so, we're going to jump to the brand new stuff, never before seen material on this channel, covering episodes 12 through 20. So if you are new to this series, or if you've seen it and you want a little bit of a catch up or a reminder of the series, you can go ahead and continue watching. But if you want to jump to the brand new series, I will leave a chapter breaks down below so that you can just jump right to coverage for 12 through 20. As always, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to stop by. I really appreciate it. And if you would like to continue following the Pontiac Robotics Archive, I will leave a link down in the description below. A couple of things to note about this video. At about 18 seconds in, it sounds like a reverse voice can be heard. I recorded it and played it back, and here's what I got. Hello there. It sounds like someone is saying hello there. And then at 38 seconds in, another reverse audio can be heard. I played this one back, but I can't really understand it. So I'll play it, and if anyone thinks they know what it says, let me know down in the comment section. It almost sounds to me like there's sort of two audios on top of one another, and perhaps one is playing a normal time and the other is in reverse. I don't know. But the animatronic then sends us out on a distorted song. One of the things that attracted me to this video, as well as the rest of the series, is the similarities to the old video I Feel Fantastic, which at the time was a really interesting story. Second tape found. It looks like the same animatronic from the first video, only this time it is resting back in what looks like some sort of inversion table. The animatronic is accompanied by a dentist who uses some sort of tools to dig around in the animatronic's mouth. The dentist refers to the animatronic on the inversion table as Meg. The dentist tells Meg that they need to continue brushing and continues to work on their mouth. The dentist then accidentally cuts Meg or hurts Meg in some sort of way. We hear like a cutting sound effect. The video then ends. I thought that I heard another reverse audio at the end of the clip, but when playing it back, I couldn't pick out any sort of definitive words. Third tape found begins with highly distorted footage of what looks like an old newscast. It's almost as if the colors on it have been flipped to negative and then colored a certain way. The newscasters' voices are played in reverse and sped up and slowed down abnormally. They are apparently reporting on a story regarding a break-in, however. When reverse engineering the audio, here's what I was able to make out.
This night robbery occurred at America's Convention Center. A robber broke in a stolen interactive android from a utopia without dispute. Well, fire police to the criminals.
The local police are on high alert for evidence.
It sounds like they're saying last night a robbery occurred at a robotics convention center, perhaps. A robber broke in, and then the audio kind of becomes unintelligible. But then the woman says police are on high alert. We are then shown Meg, the animatronic again, in front of the same door that she has been. She stares at us as highly distorted music plays, and then our image begins to deteriorate. So far, our story states that someone broke into some sort of robotics building, whether it be a factory or something like that, I'm not sure. Whatever was taken must have been pretty important because, as the newscasters tell us, the police are on high alert. We then meet Meg, who is an animatronic herself. At this point, whether the dentist in the second tape is another animatronic or, someone, a human perhaps wearing a mask and gloves, is uncertain. Fourth tape found begins with an ear-piercing sound of a siren going off. We also see images of Meg as her jaw moves up and down. We then hear a voice that I attribute to belonging to the dentist character. It wishes Meg a happy birthday. During this time, we are also given a very quick freeze frame of a face, and it appears to be some sort of plaster mask. Perhaps this face belongs to Meg. I'm not sure. We haven't really seen her in any sort of lighting that has been this bright. So it very well could be her, or it could be a new character. The dentist character then lights the birthday candles on the cake. Meg's body leans forward, falling into the candles and supposedly or apparently combusting. The episode then ends. When we pick up in fifth tape found, a pair of hands are using a syringe to inject something into Meg's face. Her face has been damaged from falling into the candles in the previous episode. The episode quickly ends as the unseen character, who I perceive to be the dentist, carries Meg upstairs before dropping her. Sixth tape found sees the repercussions that Meg faces for misbehaving. The dentist tells her, "See no evil," before plucking out her eyes. They then remark, "Speak no evil, Meg," before taping Meg's mouth shut. To finalize things, the dentist then breaks one of Meg's legs. Meg is then sentenced to a timeout in the closet. Following this, the footage distorts and makes it very difficult to tell what exactly is going on, but it looks almost as if the dentist is putting weights on Meg's hands and on her torso to keep her from moving. At this point in the story, it seems to me that the dentist character has stolen Meg from the robotics convention center. He then takes her back to his home, where he treats her like one of his friends. When she starts acting out on her own, this frustrates the dentist. Perhaps he didn't know what he was getting in prior to kidnapping the robot. At the time of making this video, Seventh Tape Found is the most popular upload on the Pontiac Robotics Archive channel. It was the one that I had initially saw first. Let's take a look. video shows what appears to be a dismantled Meg sitting in someone's backyard. This is the first time that we have seen a video take place outside instead of in a home or a building of some sort. However, we are given no clues as to the context of this outside location. Meg is seen without her usual long hair, which is interesting. And at the end of the video, we get a close-up of her, and she says something distorted. It almost sounds like a laugh of some sort. I played it in reverse and found no distinct words or anything of the sort. 8th tape found shows Meg slumped over what appears to be a piano. Distortions and reversed sounds play during this time. One of the sounds is actually of a piano playing. I couldn't pick out a distinct song or familiar tune, however. There's also a voice that plays during this time, but again, I can't make out exactly what it is or what it's saying. It almost sounds like bits of a pre-recorded voicemail, like the voice actor that was prevalent during the 1990s. I don't know if that's supposed to give us a sort of a time frame or a time period that this series takes place. I'm not sure. But the video ends as Meg topples over backwards and her entire head is destroyed. In 9th tape found, the dentist character laments that Meg has been misbehaving once again. He then grabs her from her chair and throws her onto the ground before breaking her head even more. After this, we are given the sound of a woman screaming as the dentist walks around in the backyard. We are given another news report, but in Pontiac fashion, it is played in reverse. When playing it back, the news reporter tells of a house fire. The remnants of a woman were found inside, but the homeowner was nowhere to be found. Meg is then given a new face, which appears to be a clear mask that is accentuated with makeup on the eyes, lips, and the cheeks. At this point in the story, I start to question at what point in time did the house burn down? Is this in reference to the dentist and Meg being the woman found inside, or does the news report predate everything that we've seen so far? Because I kind of want to lean more towards that. Perhaps the dentist was married to a woman or was living with a woman, and for one reason or another, he purposely set the house on fire and killed her. From what we've seen so far, the dentist enjoys taking out aggression on Meg. So what's to stop him, from doing that to, say, a human? Perhaps, this abuse that he is showing towards Meg is something that has been inherent in him prior to this series, starting. In 10th tape found, we are introduced to a new Meg. She wears the clear plastic face given to her in the previous episode. She is now a mixture of robotic parts and wooden parts from all the abuse that she has endured. She seems to emit a song of some sort, something that we haven't heard before. Playing the audio backwards gave me no answers, but it sounds like Meg might be using the word slaver and robber.
Slaver, banana, go I, roots, and Iowa, robber, slaver, banana, go I.
This assumption is admittedly a little bit far-fetched, perhaps, but hearing the word robber makes me think back to the initial newscast in which the anchors refer to a robbery and use the word robber when referring to the event at the robotics center. The 10th tape ends as it begins to rain and Meg's wiring and circuitry begin to smoke. 11th tape found as of uploading this video is the last tape that we have. It certainly leaves us on a cliffhanger though. If you've enjoyed this series so far and you would like me to continue covering it, be sure to subscribe and let me know down in the comments section below. The 11th tape shows the dentist walking around in the backyard once again before taking an object, I think it's a bat, and using it to knock Meg's head clean off of her shoulders. What's interesting is that this time Meg responds to the abuse. She seemingly throws or tosses her wooden leg at the dentist before saying, "This is your fault, Sylvester."
This is your fault, Sylvester.
We now have a name for the dentist. The footage distorts and the video comes to an end. At this point in the video, we are covering brand new content for the very first time. The upload following the 11th tape is titled Utopia Orthodontics Commercial. I should point out, however, that Pontiac does not consider this to be the 12th tape found, but instead, the commercial serves as an additional context to our story. The video serves as an advertisement for Utopia Orthodontics, which, as they put it, are dedicated to giving you a perfect smile. As the description of the video tells us, this commercial aired in the early 1990s. Pontiac also tells us that this commercial features the android. I was a little taken aback by this because when watching the commercial, we can see Meg before she was reduced to nothing but scrapped parts. This figure right here, this spokeswoman, is Meg the android. Listen to her voice.
Welcome to Utopia Orthodontics. Our delightful crew is here to help you to your long journey to a perfect smile.
It is the exact same voice that we hear throughout the episodes prior. Taking this knowledge, a big debate in the previous upload was around an audio clip from tape number 1. I couldn't quite make out what Meg was saying, but after this upload, I think it's clear. Utopia Orthodontics. Sylvester has kidnapped the spokeswoman, an animatronic named Meg, from Utopia Orthodontics. In the video 12th tape found, we see Sylvester approaching a decapitated Meg, sitting on what appears to be a staircase. The footage is heavily distorted, and we hear a voice that repeats itself.
You want to be happy. You want to be happy. You want to be happy.
Now, whether this voice belongs to Meg or Sylvester is something I'm unsure of. I was inclined to think it was Meg, but seeing as she is missing a head, it very well could be Sylvester. It's hard to do the video justice without playing it in full, but it feels very angry. Keep in mind that this is the first upload that we see taking place directly after Meg's rebellion. You can feel Sylvester's rage in the footage. 13th tape found shows what appears to be pieces of Meg lying in the backyard. We can see one of her hands, as well as the upper half of her face. Meg's dilapidated body then seems to dodge Sylvester before rushing at him on all fours. Following this, we can see a handwritten note, but the lettering is difficult to make out. The one word I feel like I can see partially is resuscitation. Granted, it is missing the N on the end of it. The footage begins to distort as we stumble through the house. Sylvester then appears standing behind one of the doors. He knocks on it and tries to wiggle the door handle. He is ultimately unsuccessful. The tape then ends. As it stands, it would appear that Meg has locked Sylvester out of his own house. Let's go back to the note for a moment. As one commenter, Mama Midnight 98 says, the letter is in Latin. It translates to Megan Resurrected, trade show behind the scenes. Meg is captured by the robot. Drive her out through the field. Take it back again. They should have prayed for. Whether Mama Midnight is entirely accurate about this is beyond me, but keep this note in mind moving forward. In 14th tape found, we see that Meg has been absolutely decimated. Her face on either side looks like it has been caved in. Sylvester approaches her and says, "Merry Christmas, Meg." He dangles a plastic bag of teeth in front of her. Very fitting given the orthodontics trope. Sylvester proceeds to stick the teeth into Meg's nose and eyes. He then hits the top of Meg's head, causing all of the loose teeth to fall to the ground. At this point, a reversed audio can be heard.
Who keeps fixing her?
Sylvester says, "Who keeps fixing her?" The tape comes to an end. Here, we establish that any sort of regeneration Meg has undergone has not been at the result of Sylvester rebuilding her, but has instead happened on her own accord. 15th tape found features a slowed version of the song Daisy Bell. Meg has been placed in the backyard once again. Intercut with this image is a news report. A female anchor says, "Wife torches house after finding out her husband was having an affair with a co-worker at a local orthodontist center. The daughter was saved by the husband, and they both made it out alive." If you don't recall, Tape 9 features a news story about a house fire. As this information is relayed, Meg's head begins to spark and catch fire. The news anchor continues. His wife's fate was less pleasant. Megan's dead body was found, and the police speculate that she was unable to open the window to escape. Sylvester suffered many deformations at the face and hands. This would explain why we haven't seen Sylvester's true face yet. Whenever he is shown, he is always wearing a white mask and rubber gloves. So here we learn that Sylvester was married and had a daughter. The wife, whose name is Megan, set their house on fire after she found out that Sylvester was having an affair. This event led to Megan's death. This could explain why Sylvester decided to name the animatronic Meg, and why he has such a disdain for her. What is still up in the air is the whereabouts of Sylvester's daughter. This question is answered in 16th tape found. We see a large wooden crate in what appears to be a warehouse. The wooden crate is labeled Utopian Orthodontics Android. Below we can see it is marked Meg. A young female voice can be heard at this time. When looking at the sign reading Meg, the voice says, "That's a part of my mom's name." She then says, "Daddy says that man works at Pontiac Robotics. He makes cool robots. My favorite robot is Roger. He is a funny rooster." The wooden crate is then pried open. Inside, we can see the parts of the android, Meg, wrapped in plastic and bubble wrap. A look at her profile reveals a much different looking Meg than what we are used to. "That looks like Mommy," says the little voice. "We do not talk about her, Sarah," says Sylvester. The video then ends. Here we have discovered the name of Sylvester and Megan's daughter, Sarah. In 17th tape found, we watch from the point of view of Sarah. She says, "I've got to find my train." She then proceeds to walk through the house with a flashlight. She eventually stumbles upon a very familiar door. "What's that?" Sarah asks. "Probably Daddy's dentist machine." Sarah's flashlight then suddenly burns out, leaving her in the dark. She is then charged by a set of footsteps. 18th tape found shows what I perceive to be Sylvester stumbling upon Sarah playing in his dentist's room. We can see the familiar door and the inversion table against the far wall. There is no sign of Meg, however. She is presumably hidden by Sarah's body. In an interesting turn of events, Sarah seems to turn towards Sylvester, aware that she is being watched. Sylvester then turns and runs up the stairs before we hear the sound of buttons on the phone being pressed. I must admit, I've seen a lot of people talk about this video, and most people seem to believe that it is Sarah stumbling upon Sylvester in the room. However, given the small body and frame, I'm inclined to believe that it's Sarah, but I very well could be wrong. 19th tape found shows a destroyed Meg once again. In the background, we hear the sound of a heart pounding like a metronome. A black gloved hand seems to begin to put the face back together. At the 20-second mark, we get the following audio.
I need to fix her.
It sounds like a voice whispering, "Why did you fix her?" This would make sense given the audio in the 14th tape when Sylvester asks, "Who keeps fixing her?" As of making this video, 20th tape found is the final upload on the Pontiac Robotics Archive channel. The video is titled "Burning the Android." It's important to notice that this is the only tape we've found that has an actual title. As Pontiac himself states in the description below, this is the season finale. The video begins with Sylvester using a wheelbarrow to transport Meg's body to a hole in the backyard. He then douses her body in gasoline before setting her on fire. We then watch for the next several minutes as Meg's body disappears in flames. Strange music plays in the background. It sounds cosmic or alien even. Once the deed is done, we see Sylvester toss a piece of Meg's remaining foot across the yard before the screen cuts to black. As stated before, this is the entirety of Season 1 of Pontiac Robotics Archive. I'd like to take this time to give a full summary of the story in chronological order to the best of my ability. I know some of my theories differ from others I've seen online, but this is just my interpretation, and I'd love to hear yours in the comments below. Our story revolves around a man named Sylvester. He is married to a woman named Megan. The two of them have a daughter named Sarah. Sylvester is an employee at Utopia Orthodontics. Unbeknownst to his wife, he is having an affair. When Megan finds out, she decides to trap Sylvester, Sarah, and herself in their home and set it on fire. This backfires on Meg as she reportedly dies in the fire. Sylvester and Sarah escape, but Sylvester has suffered burns on his face and hands. As a result, he is often seen wearing a mask and gloves to hide his deformities. Sylvester is angry with his wife despite her passing. Utopia Orthodontics eventually employs an animatronic from Pontiac Robotics to be their spokesperson. Sylvester would kidnap this animatronic and begin using it as a means of releasing his frustration towards his wife. He would even name the animatronic Meg. Sylvester's daughter, Sarah, would eventually become aware of the animatronic's presence in her home. While Sylvester would routinely destroy the robot, Sarah is caught building her on various occasions. Even strangely enough, Meg seems to grow sentience of her own, eventually fighting back by attacking Sylvester. As a result, he decides to burn the animatronic completely. This is where our story ends. The big question that I think most people have, including myself, is how does Meg eventually move on her own? Some theorists seem to believe that the spirit of Sylvester's wife, Megan, has taken possession of the animatronic. She is now continuing to torment Sylvester, even despite her death. This would make sense as she shows no apparent aggression towards her daughter, Sarah. Sarah even seems to look after her in some regard, assuming that Sarah is the one who is putting Meg back together each time that she is destroyed. Alright you guys, that is all I have for this video. I really hope to see Pontiac return for a Season 2 so we can continue the story of Sarah, Sylvester, and Meg. And like I said before at the beginning of the video, I will leave a link down to the Pontiac Robotics Archive YouTube channel. That was a mouthful. Down in the description below so you guys can stay tuned and stay up to date for their latest releases. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and if you enjoy content like this, please consider subscribing to Something Sinister.